Good morning, kia ora. I am attending the PSIA clinic this morning on people skills. Now, personally, this is actually the clinic I was looking forward to the most out of this whole Interski event, because what the PSA presented in 2019 was they were trying to develop tools to train and assess people skills so that the ski schools of America would have instructors that were more capable of dealing with the guests. The people skills concept, what the PSA introduced, is really a step in the right direction. I think it's trying to essentially assess, develop, and sort of quantify the sort of that like innate nature, what makes a great instructor, why are they coming back to the lesson? America, the PSA have their technical skills, they have their teaching skills, and they've introduced into their learning connection model, they've introduced this people skills triangle, this cornerstone. So we're going to cover all of that today, and can't wait.
How this will work throughout the day is, again, Mike and Ann will be jumping in, and at different points you'll hear some different things. But again, we're here for people skills. So what's people skills? Ability to gather or collect information, right, and adapt to build trust. To build trust, that's important. I want to make sure I'm hitting all the cameras too, so we got to do this really good. I've been practicing. Yesterday was just a warm-up. Today's the other one. Okay, so that's the definition of people skills. And a lot of people in our gondola, they were kind of asking, okay, so you introduced this concept, so now what has happened? And where the interest lies is a little bit in the assessing and the observing as well, right? And then how do you train it? So our hope or our goal today is to actually show you some examples to do that. We're going to set up some scenarios. There's really like three kind of parties going on, three different groups of people in terms of an assessment or even training situation. So you've got the deliverer of some content, then you got the recipients of some content, and then you usually have an examiner or two or an assessor or whatever you call them observing what's going on.
The folks that are participating are noticing what Mike's doing. We all know that he's been given behaviors that are not his default behaviors.
Thank you.
Yeah, he will be acting. And as you're synchro skiing, you're going to pay attention to, okay, not only what is he doing, but also how does that make me feel when I'm doing this thing, right? Like, how is it impacting me? You might have a strong reaction as a watcher to what he's doing and say something like, he's being kind of a jerk. Is that a behavior? It's kind of my interpretation of behavior, right? So what are the actual behaviors that he is doing that make me think he's a jerk? My perspective might be different than someone else's, might be different than the candidates in the assessment. So instead we would think about, like, what was the impact on you, Gemma, when he didn't remember your name? Like, how did that affect you?
Yeah, I didn't feel valued in the team, and that my opinion didn't matter anyway, so why would you ask me? And if you ask me, it doesn't matter what I say.
Right, so his failure to remember you or show that he cared about your name, right? His failure to use your name caused you to disengage and withdraw. And when we train this is the tool we use, which is you are delivering Mike a piece of feedback, an observation about your experience that helps him adapt his behavior to do a better job building trust.
So far in the clinic, what we have sort of witnessed is a little sort of fake scenario where one of the PSA trainers, Mike, was essentially exhibiting behaviors and actions that are really dominating, overbearing, just towards a group of people trying to learn synchro. And then we're just reflecting on that experience that we witnessed together. And what the PSA have is they have a feedback model for the sort of behavior and people skills. It's called the SBI feedback model: situation, behavior, and impact. So just chatting with Anne about the SBI model. So just want to give a little more detail on the situation, behavior, and impact, please.
Yeah, so it's a model that we borrowed from the Center for Creative Leadership.
And it's a tool to give someone very clear communication about what happened. And we find it really helpful to unload an interpersonal conversation, right? It's really hard to approach someone about people skills. We're really good at talking about teaching. We struggle to talk about people skills.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is describe the situation, which is a specific moment in time when it happened. So we're bringing the person we're talking to back to exactly when it happened, as specifically as we can. The behavior is anything that would be observable to a third party. What I said, the tone of voice, the volume of my voice, what I did with my body, that's a behavior. If a third party would see exactly the same thing, it's also objective. There's not room for debate and there's no judgment there, right? If I say, Josh, when I was talking to you and you looked the other way, that you would agree that you did that. There's no judgment.
It's an observable communication, something you can see.
Yeah, something you can see, and that doesn't have judgment. It's not good or bad. And then the impact piece is, how did it affect me, right? Because that's also true. Whatever my emotional impact is a true statement, and it's not universal. Someone else might feel totally differently, but it's an opportunity for Josh to understand how what he did impacted me. So I could say, when I was talking to you and you looked away while I was talking, I got the impression, felt like you weren't interested in what I said.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity for you to understand how your behavior impacted someone in the group.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Anne.
Sure. Thanks, Josh.
Hi guys, just with Mike here, and we're just talking a little bit about how the PSA is assessing the people skills cornerstone within their learning connection model.
So yeah, thanks Josh. First thing I would say is that people skills can be a learned skill. It's not about personality, it's about behaviors. And we like to utilize the SBI, which is situation, behavior, and impact. How does the situation, which is kind of the time and place that you are witnessing a certain behavior that took place, and then the impact that goes on from that behavior. So as an example, if Josh and I were out skiing and maybe I said something to Josh, and maybe it was a direct statement as we demonstrated this morning, Josh.
Yeah.
Okay? And so Josh would come back to me and say, hey, Mike, the situation was this. When we were skiing down Lover's Leap, if that was the name of the run, if we were skiing down Lover's Leap, you stated that my turns were too much in the fall line and you wanted to see more speed control. Okay, that's a behavior that had an impact on me that made me wonder whether or not I'm ready for my next exam. Whereas in before, if I turned around and said it a different way, then what type of positive impact could I have on you? So when we assess that, we look for behaviors versus personalities, and we have to describe the situation to create clarity around the entire behavior. So that way, for myself, I can take that coaching and I can change that behavior. We can't change personalities, we can change behaviors, Josh.
Yeah, perfect. So it's a lot of it is like, is there an opportunity that someone can like reflect on their behavior and try and adapt it and change? So it's just that someone's connected to that, right?
Well, and that's exactly the point about the situation.
Yeah,
we have to reflect on when that occurred and how that occurred to be successful with us.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so a lot of it at the moment is like it's a discussion that's had between, let's say, the examiner and the candidate.
Yes.
Like, can we reflect back on a situation, understand the behavior that was given, and then see the impact and make a decision to maybe change it next time if needed?
Yes, and our goal is to keep it professional versus personal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
very much so.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.